There's only one ego for this job, and it's a really big one! Worm power!
DK! Donkey Kong! DK! Wait, it's Earthworm Jim? Well, I thought I had Donkey Kong 64. I wonder how I messed that up.
Welcome! I have a great many things for sale. Good things. Definitely not cursed items.
Okay. I'm not entirely certain what I'm interested in, but... Ah, sweet! Donkey Kong 64 and it's only $10? Sold!
That's not Donkey Kong 64!
Huh. Anyway, I remember playing this when I was a kid.
It was similar to my experience with the N64 because I was vaguely aware that Earthworm Jim had at least one other game before this, and even a cartoon show attached to it. Though I never really figured out if the game was based on the show or if the show was based on the game, at least until now. The game came first, but not this one. Earthworm Jim 3D came out after the cartoon series. The entire history of Earthworm Jim is a little too long and complicated to go into with any real detail, so I'll do a more concise version here. The game was meant to be more of a satire of platformers at the time, with its humor reflecting that premise. Earthworm Jim 3D is also the third game of the series, out of 4.
So it shouldn't come as a surprise that the series is pretty well received. But is the game good?
It starts off with Earthworm Jim dancing with an accordion?
I am in no way relating to this character so far.
So Earthworm Jim gets blonked on the head with a cow and then goes into a coma. So you, as the player, are controlling Jim's super ego and have to restore his moderately hyper intelligence by collecting marbles and collecting golden udders. There are 4 main worlds that represent each of Jim's brains: memory, happiness, fear, and fantasy. And each brain is broken up into an additional 2 to 3 levels, plus a boss battle for each. One of the nice things is that each level is completely self-contained and doesn't require any level hopping to get new abilities or items.
Some games do this a lot.
And the graphics are decent. Good decent. Everything is colorful and there aren't very many ambiguous blobs that you could barely make out what it's supposed to be. I mean, what is this? Some sort of N64 lard? Oh, it's supposed to be a hamster. And, oh my god, it exploded! In any case, the game seems to reflect the cartoony nature of Earthworm Jim pretty well. I like it. But unfortunately, I'm not liking the controls very much. Earthworm Jim has this very awkward run, and it's kind of floaty for some reason. It's also one of the most exaggerated run cycles I've seen in a video game. But it's obviously satire, so it's fine.
I totally get jokes sometimes.
And Jim has 2 main attacks, a ray gun, which has rapid fire and depletes after a while, and a whip. A whip that's actually his head. A head whip.
Whoa, if I did that, my brain would splat like an egg against the inside of my skull. Oh well, I better try it anyway. Oh, my brain.
And then there's other guns that you get from vending machines.
Gasp! It's the true American dream!
There's egg guns that go splat, rockets that go splat probably, dynamite that goes splat, double splat, and a toaster maybe? Oh, that's a cleaver. And holy fuck, it just decapitated that cow guy! His head just clean off! That's horrifying! So aside from murdering cow people, we have to collect marbles, which can be really frustrating. To be fair, most of the time they are placed around in mostly obvious spots, but then again, look at all these stupid marbles that are all over this quicksand. And you gotta collect 100 marbles for each level.
And then there's a not very subtle nod to another N64 game, Banjo-Kazooie. Behold the rip-offness.
And what I mean here is that if you die or leave the level, you gotta collect all the marbles again. Just like the musical notes in Banjo-Kazooie.
Out of all the things to take from Banjo-Kazooie, why that? That feature was so annoying in the original that they took it out of the remake on the Xbox 360.
But unlike Banjo-Kazooie, the tasks you need to do in order to get the gloriously golden and shiny gold udders are simple at best and downright cryptic at its stupidly worst. Because seriously, here's a switch you gotta turn on after clearing a room. It launches some fridges and you get the udder. Absolute simplicity. But then there's a point where you locate and destroy security cameras, and there isn't any indication that you have to do that. No clues, no hints, and they look like they're part of the scenery, honestly. Oh, and you gotta have the right weapon to do it also. And speaking of weapons, it's kind of annoying using them. Most of them have limited ammo, and then when you run out, you have to go back to the vending machine to get more. The upside, at least, is that the weapons lock onto enemies pretty easily, which brings me to my next minor complaint, the camera controls.
I hate camera controls in general. That's why my camera is almost always right there. And sometimes there. But never here. Ugh, don't look at me!
The camera is very limited and doesn't like moving. There's two general modes, way too close and slightly tolerable. And then it also hates walls, like there's an actual camera person thing there that exists.
Like maybe I'm the camera?
And then the boss battles. Oh wow, the boss battles are something else entirely. I have to say that without a doubt, the boss battles are the absolute worst thing about Earthworm Jim 3D.
Maybe also the worst thing about Earthworm Jim ever, even. And that's without me even knowing anything about the other games. Or the show. The worst!
You know in Super Mario 64 where you jump on a Koopa Troopa and hop on the shell, and then you surf about wildly until you inevitably hit the wall, especially in lethal lava land, grumble, 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 grumble. Well, how about the entire boss battle is that? You're on a pig. And oh my god, this is terrible. As you can imagine, the controls are very slippery. Forward speeds up, left and right steer, and backward slows down. But with only one control stick, if you do need to slow down, then you are likely turning due to the sensitivity of the control stick. And that's not even the worst part. You see, you need to collect all the blue marbles, all 100 of them. And in order to do that, you have to pick up these golden bullets in order to stop Psychro here. He also picks up marbles and bullets, and then he shoots you too, and it's annoying and lame. I found that the best strategy is to get 2 of the bullets. Oh, because you can't get all 3. Then with your 2 bullets, fire 1 and then get another bullet. This prevents Psychro from constantly shooting you all the time. However, that doesn't make picking up the marbles any easier. Oh, and Psychro's bullets do damage to you and you drop marbles yourself. It's kinda sweat-inducing, especially when you get to be almost there. Just one more!
Dude, shutting down!
Okay, so I'm cheating, and I finally beat Psychro. So, next area, happiness.
I'm really gonna need some happiness after that ordeal.
Cheesy effects! The Tex-Mex that time forgot!
Earthworm Jim's idea of happiness is a lava world. Or actually, I guess it's Greece because everything is food. But still, the idea is the same. Lava! And with these controls and camera issues, this makes the increased platforming a lot more difficult to contend with. Just look at this. I misread this jump here, and now I am bouncing on boiling grease and dead. No real chance of recovery. Brilliant. But one thing I really didn't like in this area was the parp can area. Oh yeah, the parp can. It's a can that you pick up and then you just blast up with a nasty green fart. I also need to point out that you need near pinpoint accuracy to land where you need to, or you will fall down into a vat of toxic waste.
I think I can handle it.
But seriously, how is anyone supposed to do this without cheats? Unless you've played the game so much that you're an undisputed expert on it, more than likely, you're falling to your death. And remember,
if you die in the game, you die in real life. I mean, You have to collect all the marbles again.
I mean, you don't have to collect all the marbles, but it makes getting to new levels that much easier.
Not to mention the supreme bragging rights of saying that you 100%ed Earthworm Jim 3D. That's the important part.
Anyway, apparently Earthworm Jim's pocket rocket was supposed to make it into the game, but they couldn't make it work well enough and settled on the PARP can.
And that also brings me to the humor of the game. So let's just pretend for a moment that I know a few things about being funny. Please?
For the most part, the humor is pretty slapsticky and exactly what you expect from a game such as this. The physical humor comes from stuff like characters being crushed by refrigerators, which is a callback to the show with each episode ending with a cow being dropped on someone. Plus, with the exaggerated movements and style of the environment, it all comes together pretty well. Like here, there's Elvis, and he's comically fat.
I mean, it's in no way an original joke, but it's still a joke, I guess.
Oh, and then after an annoying escort quest, Elvis becomes a burger. I guess he is the true Burger King.
Oh, come on, you all knew that joke was coming. Just like the newly returning Burger King melts. They come in classic, spicy, and bacon. Run on down and get one today. Burger King, please give me money.
There's also this feeling of pure mania that's meant to be humor. You know, that high energy movement and sound that basically defined cartoons in the 90s?
Like The Mask, The Tick, Animaniacs, Freakazoid, Bonkers, and Bubsy.
It's that type of funny madness that ushered in the yelling is funny people type of humor that's still being used today, but it's not inherently funny.
Or at least, it isn't funny to me because I can't pull it off. So I have to be serious all the time. Meh.
Jim yells a lot, but it's not so much because his character's manic, he absolutely is, but here in this game he yells a fuck ton simply because you're constantly under attack, and when you get hit, Jim yells.
Groovy!
And this means that the voice acting is partially wasted, because it's being consumed by all this other garbage playing over it. Speaking of which, they actually got the cast of the show to do the voices for the game, which means that Dan Castellaneta plays Earthworm Jim. You know, Homer Simpson? But he sounds more like Genie from Aladdin, the show, and Return of Jafar. But anyway, Jim Cummings plays Psychro, and Charlie Adler plays Professor Monkey for a head, whoever that is. I don't know because I haven't gotten that far yet.
And the illusion of me playing this through for the first time is still intact.
Time for another boss battle. It's Fatty Roswell, an alien, in a burger, and he shoots ketchup at you, and is like twice as damaging as a bullet, and he teleports. It's extra dumb, and he's fat, and I hate him. I hate him and his stupid fatty, fat. Once Fatty Roswell is no longer fat, because he's dead, we move on to fear, and apparently, Jim is afraid of generic haunted house imagery. But these chicken ghosts are ridiculous and bullshitty. Again, imagine if I didn't have cheats on and trying to defend against these fuckers. And this area likes to have puzzles and hidden areas. The puzzles are fine but cryptic at times, but the secret areas? Dumb. If you want all the marbles, then you gotta look for them, and they are so subtle that they look like graphical glitches rather than secret areas, like here in this floor. This is a glitch. No, wait, never mind. Oh, and this wall here? No indicator whatsoever. We are also introduced to flying enemies, and these guys suck. At least you can kill them with these lock-on rockets, but they stun you with their attacks, and it's annoying.
Yeah, I'm still cheating.
But this section also has a really terrible and dumb and terrible section with all this quicksand and platforming all over the place. If you fall off, you can't really recover. You have to slowly slog your way through to this one spot, and you take like 8 hits, which at 10% each hit is way too much damage. Then there's this balloon section where you gotta collect the blue marbles, but these fish are in the way and send you crashing down into the muck. I've tried killing them, but they seem to be invincible. So I have to wait here and try to position myself perfectly to time it just shut. Let's do it over and over. Okay, I finally did it. To celebrate, let's try shooting these fish some more and And they do die. What the hell? I just wasted all that time.
That's one of the things I've noticed about this game. A lot of the objectives and layouts of this game are pretty straightforward, but there are these sections that are just sadistic.
This area is one, the parp can areas and the bosses are another, and then this level also has the only section which has a level within a level too. So if you miss it, then you're shit out of luck and have to traverse the level again to get to it. Time for another boss battle. This time it's Professor Monkey for a head.
No, I'm not making that up. It's one of the stupidest things I've ever heard of in my entire life. And I'm even including this. I hate you so much.
This boss is similar to the other ones, but he drops mines. Oh, and there's this boost that makes it harder to steer. This guy seemed a little easier to beat at least, probably from all the practice I've been getting. I must be getting used to these wonky controls. Alright, time for fantasy. What's it gonna be? Like a high fantasy world with elves, dwarves, and dragons? Maybe something sci-fi? That would actually fit with earthwormjim. It's the Wild West.
But why the Wild West? That's not particularly fantastical. Heck, the food world was more fantasy than this.
I mean, I get it, sort of. The Wild West has a mystique to it that gives it a fantasy vibe, but it's more historical than actual fantasy. I guess it's more like a nostalgic projection of an era gone by, kind of like when people say that they were born in the wrong era. The first section of this fantasy world is, in a word, empty. Just look. There are vast areas of complete nothingness, and that made me realize that if there weren't these goals of collecting udders, there would be nothing. I mean, look at the scenery. There's nothing. The earlier levels seem to have more to it, but this region is bereft of detail. There are things like these grannies that throw bombs at you. At least I could shoot them with this golden gun I found, but finding them all is a chore and a half. You'd think it would be easy because all you have to do is look for falling bombs, but they stopped throwing them after a while. I had to scour the level a lot in order to find them all. And there's a part where you have to traverse these ropes and kill these guys in outhouses, and when you do, the lava stops. Wait, that's not lava? That's nasty! Oh, and there's a part where you herd some grannies into watching TV. It's not really worth mentioning, except that in the next level, you do it again. Oh, and another parp can section? Ah! I just gotta get done with the complaints I have with this last section, but there were just so many terrible sections, like the sheer number of enemies in the last level. Just look at this. If I didn't have invincibility on, how would I survive all of this? Oh, and there's this running back and forth between phones section, and it's prone to glitches too. You get to this one phone, it doesn't ring, so you have to go inside and then back outside in order to get it to ring. And then the town is so nondescript that it's easy to get turned around and lost. It's not fun. But I'm almost done. Okay, fourth boss, Bob the Fish. So what's special with him? Well, he can jump. Okay, alright. I managed to beat him. Now what? That's the game, right?
Oh, wow, that was quite a marathon. So, how does this game make me feel? Well, overall, I think that I have some mixed feelings on this.
It has a lot of good things going for it. Overall, the level designs are good, but sometimes bare bone. The different goals are fun if they aren't convoluted or repeated. The controls aren't too bad at least, but the bosses are, well... The earlier parts of the game are pretty simple and fun, but later the game stretches out as much as it can to prolong gameplay, and that sucks the life out of it. By the end, you're just begging for it to be over.
Well, I think that does it for this one, guys. And I'm glad I can finally say that I've beaten earthwormjim 3D. Finally. Okay then. Well, how many times have been faked out by handing him a game? At least twice, I guess, but it shouldn't have been a surprise now. Alright then. One more final boss.
Right, googly woogly!
Remember, Jimmy, it's for your own good.
What? Does that mean that Earthworm Jim is trans?
Hey there, as always, if you're here and you watched my video and hopefully you liked it. Likes and comments are always appreciated, and if you want to see more of my videos, either click on the thumbnails here for similar stuff or subscribe. I'd really like that one. Thanks to my sibling for helping me out on this one as always, and thank you all for watching. I'll see you next time.